Hello, everybody. Welcome to Freedom Talk. I'm going to give you another election update. This is one you'll want to hear and share. I've got some important things to tell you. I think you're going to be pretty excited about it. All right, guys, I have some great updates for you. But before I start, make sure you go to linktapgo.com/Kelly. You'll find Freedom Talk television there and some of our past shows. You'll find various resources, content, and a place to donate if you'd like to help us out in our mission to restore truth and American values to America. We're working very, very hard on the Arizona election, which we are certain had some monkey business malfeasance and cheating. We believe it was rigged, and I think we have evidence of that. I'm actually pretty excited because I believe that not only in Arizona but in other areas, they overplayed their hand. They were obvious. It was coordinated. We have some similarities between states. Supposed equipment breakdowns that happened just coincidentally in various areas, and by the way, in Republican districts. So they overplayed their hand, and as I've mentioned, there's a real difference this time around from 2020, and one is that we have been watching. We've had people on the inside. We have had legal teams on site, and we have people investigating right now, digging deep. So I'm actually pretty excited. I mean, the most difficult thing for me was waiting and watching those numbers for days and days. But excuse me. Now I believe we're in a time of accountability. We're in a time where we can stand up and just outright reject this joke of an election. We're a national joke right now. We deserve better. And I'm going to give you some options that I think we should do right now. Okay, so I'm talking with a lot of people. I can't say everyone I'm talking with. You recognize the names of some of these organizations and individuals, but it's substantial. And we have some resources in place, some coordination. And as soon as I can tell you more about that, I will. But I wanted to tell you, first of all, excuse me, I have my team working on a online form where you can submit your stories, submit your complaints, and then I'm going to share that with some of these entities and some of these groups, organizations that are investigating this. So let's see. I want to tell you too that some people who attended today's Pima County Board of Supervisors meeting said they've never seen it so packed, and people were furious about the election, about these open borders, and that's fantastic. And one of the people who went said, "Hey, I'm just one voice. What's going to happen? What are they going to do?" Excuse me. What kind of difference can I make? And I said, every voice counts. Think about the ants in A Bug's Life. If you've seen that movie, the ants finally realized they had power as a whole when they stuck together, not just individually. But it took that one ant, I think his name was Flick, who had to stand up, take a bit of a beating, and finally people came together. So I want to give you a message of hope today. Not hope that's wishful thinking, but hope that has some real teeth to it, because I see opportunity here. I really do. But we need all of you, everybody out there, and spread this word, spread this message, to participate, to not be intimidated, don't be fearful, and show up. And there are various people who are leading in our area, in other areas. Look to them, and hopefully soon I can give you a list of those people. But let's just say we are on the same page. And I also want to call for unity, that we'd work together, put aside our differences, even if there were offenses and hurts or differences in nuances of what we believe in. We have a common enemy, and that's corruption, governmental overreach, fraud. And I have been talking to some of the candidates. I don't know exactly where all of them are right now. I don't believe, this is my personal opinion, I don't believe they're just going to concede. I believe they're going to fight this. They're going to challenge it legally, but they're somewhat limited because they have to work with the lawyers. We, on the other hand, are not as limited. And as I've said before, we are the basis of the government. We are where our officials, our elected officials, derive their power. So people in government, candidates, they're figureheads, they're symbols of us, but they don't have power on their own. So it's time for us to stand up. And let me see here, because I want to, this bears reading again. And you can see this on the Freedom Talk Instagram. And I really encourage you to go to Instagram and follow at Real Freedom Talk. Normally my posts also go to Facebook. A lot of them go to Twitter, but go to at Real Freedom Talk. If you don't have Instagram, I guess watch the other platforms, or try to reach out and contact us, and we'll try to get you this information. So this is a quote by Samuel Adams that I want to share with you. And I posted this 16 hours ago. If ever a time should come when vain and aspiring men or women shall possess the highest seats in government, our country will stand in need of its experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. And I think we can agree that our country is in deep trouble right now. Our state is in deep trouble. And I think we've seen a very shoddy, unprofessional at best election, and I would say at worst, just rife with corruption. And I do believe we have that. I believe we caught them in the act, and this is all going to come out in the wash. But get involved, stay involved, make your voice heard. And here's one way you can do that I'm suggesting right now. Let me see here. All right. So I think call Governor Doug Ducey's office at 602-524-4331. Call Attorney General Mark Bronovich's office, 602-542-5025. I'm going to just make this a little larger so you can see it. And here are some of the things that you can request. An investigation into the Arizona elections. I'm going to tell you what Texas is doing right now, and Nevada, because I think those relate to what we should be doing here. We should also demand a hand recount. I'm going to show you some precedent on that. We should, let's see, have a stay or a hold on certification due to conflict of interest, because the Secretary of State is certifying her own election. She's been managing a process that she's running in. How was that okay from the start? And because they need to look into the conflict of interest, the voter suppression, and possible cheating. So we need to have a hold on the certification. And I'll have to check on this. I don't know if that's something the governor and the attorney general can do, or if the legislature has to do that. But the problem is we have a Secretary of State that's in a situation that's a conflict of interest. So potential election redo one day with paper ballots, clean election. And I know there's a group pushing on that. I haven't been in contact with them yet. But my advice is this, in consultation with a lot of people, I think it's a good idea to deploy all of these strategies. I think a potential redo of the election is one route to go, but I wouldn't put everything into one solution, and I wouldn't just say, hey, we should only do one of these. I think we should do everything we can. So let's see, let me just go back to this here. So I'm going to bring up a few articles from the Epoch Times and update you on some things, kind of just skim through this. So in the news today, Nevada Supreme Court rejects attempt to stop counties' hand count. That's very interesting. So the Nevada Supreme Court on November 14th turned down a request to halt hand counting of ballots in a rural county. The hand count, which is taking place after all ballots cast in the midterms were tabulated with machines, is essentially a recount or an audit, neither of which are allowed under state law. the Brennan Center for Justice and the American Civil Liberties Union said in an emergency motion on Monday. So the ACLU and this Brennan Center for Justice are asserting that the hand recount is illegal. Unless enjoined by this court, this hand count will set a dangerous precedent for future elections by encouraging local officials to make up and implement their own vote counting processes that violate voters' constitutional right in an accurate election, quote, as provided by law, the group said. I'm going to come back to that and have a comment on that. However, the state's top court ruled within hours denying the position. Ooh, this gets juicy. The court noted that the hand count was approved by the Nevada Secretary of State's office, according to a response to the emergency motion. County officials also differed on what state law allows, saying a hand count that is not an audit or recount is not expressly prohibited by law. So we're talking about Nevada law. And I know we have some legal minds looking into Arizona law. Okay, so here's what the justices said. Having reviewed the petition and answer, we conclude that the petitioner has not demonstrated that our extraordinary intervention is warranted at this time. Petitioner has pointed to no law clearly prohibiting the parallel hand count or precluding any post-deadline revision to secondary vote counting plans approved by the secretary. Let's see. Okay, so under these circumstances, we decline to exercise our discretion to consider this writ petition and we order the petition denied. That's great news. That's great news. And I'll tell you one of my thoughts on that. They're trying to block the idea of decentralizing the elections, that counties, local officials make up and implement their own vote counting processes. Now, we have gone away from having voting centers in churches and community centers and, small places that could be overseen, where you turn in a paper ballot, it gets counted, same day elections. And I think the pandemic was used as an excuse to bring this to big processing centers. And I think there's more opportunity for abuse there. So imagine you go down to your local church or community center or whatever it might be. You have representatives from both parties there. People come in, they fill out their ballot, they hand it in, and it's counted. Simple. Okay. So I'm going to move on from that news. Here's another interesting piece of news posted yesterday. Texas Governor Greg Abbott calls for investigation into Harris County elections. Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Monday called for an investigation into how Harris County runs elections, citing problems and delays, including missing keys, insufficient paper ballots in Republican precincts, and staffing problems, he said, that left voters frustrated and confused. I'm calling on the Secretary of State, the Attorney General's office, and the Texas Rangers to initiate investigations into allegations and improprieties in the way that the 2022 elections were conducted in Harris County, Abbott said in a statement. The allegations of election improprieties in our state's largest county may result from anything ranging from malfeasance to blatant criminal conduct. Voters in Harris County deserve to know what happened, and so do we in Arizona. Integrity in the election process is essential. To achieve that standard, a thorough investigation is warranted. Same thing in Arizona, particularly Maricopa and Pima counties. Maricopa County was a mess. Let's see. The Harris County GOP on Monday announced a lawsuit against local election officials in a bid to expose what they say are systemic issues with how county officials have been running elections. Now, do we have clean elections in our state? Is Maricopa, does it have its act together? Well, they would say so, but no, absolutely not. We're doing this in order to shed light on what has been happening, how Harris County actually runs their election, says Harris County GOP Chair Cindy Siegel at a press conference. What we've seen over the past year, instead of it being just a few incidents of breakdowns in how the process has been run, we've seen what's turned out to be a systemic cancer in how Harris County actually runs its elections. And we have a cancer in the election process in Maricopa County and Pima County, if not other areas as well. Now, how did the Democrats respond? Call for investigation laughable, say the Democrats. Harris County Democratic Party Chair Otis Evbagaru downplayed Abbott's call for an investigation, saying it is, quote, yet another example of the political theater we come to expect from our state leader. Oh, I see. So transparency and accountability and verification is political theater. Interesting. Our biggest concern about this is that Abbott and other GOP state leaders are trying to criminalize election workers. Well, if they break the law, you ask yourself, why are Democrats so against transparency and verification? These elections are run by volunteers who are civically engaged and actively participating in the political process. And under Abbott's watch, election workers have been constantly under attack. Really? So they go on to say, now this is where it gets interesting. Harris County Elections Administrator Clifford Tatum, who has downplayed concerns about midterm voting issues, said the county is reviewing issues and claims made about the November 8 election date. What? The fox is in charge of the hen house. We're inspecting ourselves, so trust us. Because if we're actually crooked, we're going to let you know. The Harris County Elections Administrator's Office is fully committed to transparency regarding the processes and procedures implemented for the midterm elections, Tatum said in the statement to the Epoch Times. Oh, really? You're committed to transparency, and yet you don't want transparency? You don't want investigations? Come on, we're not stupid. As already established, Harris County has been blah, blah, blah. The office is currently completing vote tabulation of provisional ballots in reparation for the statutory required manual count that must occur before canvassing. So let's see. The last day to canvass is November 22nd. I don't know exactly what that means. The office is currently reviewing issues and claims made about Election Day and will include these findings in a post-elections report to be shared promptly with the Harris County Elections Commission and the County Commissioner Court. Again, this is the very people who are under scrutiny running the investigation. That's a joke. So listen to this. Now, this is where it gets really, really compelling. After a forensic audit identified numerous voting irregularities in Harris County in the 2020 election and 2022 March primary election, inspectors from the Texas Secretary of State and Attorney General's election integrity team were sent to Harris County to observe and monitor voting processes. Voting irregularities. Harris County's previous elections administrator, Isabel Longoria, was forced to resign after the March primary election after it was revealed that 10,000 ballots hadn't been counted, and after other election irregularities and problems were uncovered, including not counting all the votes within the time frame established by law. The Texas Secretary of State's office will audit the results of Harris County's 2022 November midterm elections, along with 3 other Texas counties. Now, isn't that interesting? The irregularities happened, people were fired, and yet we're still supposed to trust these people. Look, the primaries, what happened in Pinal County and other areas? Huge problems, ballots wrongly sent out, and yet we still trusted Katie Hobbs and Maricopa and our the county offices to run this election. What a joke. All right, this just in, by the way, McCarthy nominated for speaker. Let me see, this just came across my desktop and left. McCarthy nominated for speaker with 188 votes, well short of the 218 he needs. Interesting things developing. All right, let's see, one more article. Texas governor invokes invasion clause at U.S.-Mexico border. So Texas Governor Abbott is invoking invasion clauses due to illegal immigration from Mexico, allowing his administration to use the National Guard to repel illegal aliens, construct a border wall, and deploy gunboats. I don't think we need gunboats in Arizona, but let's see. He says, I invoke the invasion clauses of the U.S. and the Texas constitutions to make the declaration. I'm using that constitutional authority and other authorization and executive orders to keep our state and country safe. So I'm going to put these numbers up again because, Ducey's on his way out. Brnovich is on his way out, but damn it, they still have a job to do. They're still accountable to us. So let's see here. Another reason to call Ducey's office and Brnovich's office is to demand that they issue a state of, let's see, what did they call it? Invoke the invasion clause on the U.S.-Mexico border. We all know how bad it is. We all know fentanyl's just pouring in to our state. And I had seen some news where Katie Hobbs, should she be governor, would want to remove the barriers that are at the border now. But I do not believe that we're going to allow a fraudulent election. I believe there are processes in place. There are options that we have to hold these people accountable and to really look into this. So I want you guys to have some hope. There are some really good people working on this. If you, and I know we are in a time when, we're in a time when a lot of people are asking for donations, Give, Send, Go, GoFundMe, those types of things. But if you'd like to support the work we're doing, go to linktapgo.com/Kelly. And once the election issue calms down, I'm going to tell you about the legal challenge we're facing, which is actually tied in. So, hey guys, stay positive, keep fighting, keep it nonviolent, but be persistent, stand your ground. There are just some things where we are not going to accept results that stem from corruption and tyranny. And the answer is absolutely no. We're going to stand our ground. Stay strong, everybody. And I do believe Kerry and Abe actually won, and I believe we're going to discover that, and possibly some other candidates. Hey guys, I want to take a quick break to tell you about Freedom Talk Coffee. This is some amazingly good coffee, and I'm a little biased because Andrea roasts each batch lovingly for you, and you're going to know that our coffee doesn't go to fund woke agendas. You're actually helping support the work that we do with Freedom Talk to restore American values on the foundation of natural rights, to fight for your freedom, to restore our country. So we really appreciate if you subscribe monthly, annually, or even make a one-time purchase. What did you put in this coffee? Coffee Plus.